where did those sort of 5 strength qualities come about?
So I remember early in my PhD, managing counter movement jump data and then loaded jump squat data and all that sort of stuff. And you're pulling out these dozens of metrics and you're like, which ones do I choose? So you go through a process of what's called dimensionality or data reduction. You do that by things like principal component analysis or factor analysis, or even just simply running some correlations, right? To see, okay, which variables are all tightly correlated? We're going to put them as a cluster over here. Which clusters of variables are different from that? You put them over there. Putting all that together, there were roughly 5 domains or dimensions of strength. And within those dimensions, you're going to have a bunch of variables that are all tightly correlated, and you can kind of essentially make a decision on which one of those variables from within a domain you'd like to bring forward and move into your model, considering some other factors as well. So that was the framework or the genesis to getting towards this 5-factor model of strength expression.
Maximal dynamic strength and fast strength seem to be particularly important with athletes. Can you explain why these qualities are so critical in sports performance?
Before we get to that point, is what are these five different domains that we put forward? We've got your maximal isometric strength, then you've got explosive strength, and then you've got heavy strength or heavy slow strength, which is just your lifting strength, 1, 3, 5 RM. Maximal dynamic strength, fast strength, which is what we might call it. And then finally, we've got something like reactive strength. So why do they seem to be most relevant? Heavy dynamic strength, so lifting strength, seems to rise to the top in many occasions because perhaps one, it reflects the ability to apply force against heavy loads, which is important in collision sports, but also it transfers across domains. And then measures derived from a counter movement jump seem to be particularly important because it has sort of a sports-specific movement velocity. They've always been easy to assess, right? It's easy to assess a 1, 3, 5 RM squat, easy to assess a counter movement jump too, even if you just had vertex or chalk on a wall.
Developing reactive strength for field-based athletes, what are some of its contributions towards athletic performance?
So reactive strength is something where you have a contact time of less than 250 milliseconds. If you start training, for example, heavy ballistic tasks or just general ballistic tasks like a counter movement jump or a squat jump, where the cue is to only maximize height and there's no cue for contact time or movement time, then you're not going to see much transfer to reactive strength. The transfer to reactive strength is relatively limited from the other strength qualities. So you need to zero in on that. Now, what does that look like? That could be anything from pogos to bounding to sprint bounding, anything where you're maximizing the height or the distance while also minimizing the contact times.
When it comes to using technology, like we've talked about with force plates, what strategies do you think are most effective when implementing the strength measurements in a training environment?
If you're looking at choosing a metric to bring into your practice, is it going to actually inform training? Is it going to allow you to make decisions off the back of that? How feasible is it to fold this into your training environment? Is it going to require a massive amount of cost to buy this thing? Is it going to require considerable tester upskilling? Is it going to require considerable physical space to get it in there? And perhaps the very top of that checklist is the measure that I'm looking at, giving me information that relates to an aspect of sports performance in my context.
What do you think are some common mistakes or pitfalls to avoid for practitioners that are looking to incorporate these 5 strength qualities in their programming?
The biggest mistake, which I've done too, and it's easy to do, is you're probably choosing too many counter movement jump metrics. You can explain the counter movement jump in like 2 or 3 metrics. So something that represents how high they go. So something, an output type measure, something that represents the duration of the movement. Okay, like time to take off or movement time or contraction time. They're probably 2 big ones. And then a third one could be something that describes the counter movement displacement. So how deep they go on the counter movement, how quickly they drop into the counter movement. So probably the common error is because there's so many metrics that are available, you end up choosing half a dozen to represent a counter movement jump. And now you've still got 4 other qualities that need to be described, but there's only so much space on a report